As a music fan, when you hear the phrase, getting the band back together, it can stir some emotions unless it's Kiss, who got back together for their retirement tour, and that's been going strong for 20 years. But when bands like Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, or the Eagles say it, you have to pick your jaw up off the floor and just reattach it. Then check to see if hell has truly frozen over. Now, I know we're not here to talk about music, but when a movie can transform you into that screaming little girl who watched the Beatles perform live on the Ed Sullivan Show, then you're about to experience something special. Welcome to another episode of the Popcorn Confessional, and this is Dave from Nerdbox, and I'm accompanied by my wife, Jen, also from Nerdbox. And on this episode, we are talking about Ghostbusters, The Afterlife. So fire up that Jiffy Pop and meet us in the booth.
Callie is a struggling single mom with two kids, Phoebe and Trevor, who's forced to move to her recently deceased father's home when she's evicted. Phoebe, with a little help from an invisible force, discovers various ghost busting equipment hidden throughout the house. When she takes it to school, her teacher and friend decide to test it and accidentally release a demon dog. That happens every day. Now it's up to Phoebe, her friend, and her brother to capture the ghost. But along the way, they discover a town secret that could toss them down into a supernatural apocalypse if they don't bust some ghosts.
Okay, before we get into it, just make sure to let us know what you thought of this movie and what your rating is. So leave those in the comments below. We would like to hear what you think about this film. Because when you go into it, there is a lot of nostalgia that you're going to experience. So you have to kind of try to separate that fanboy little kid that's seen Ghostbusters many, many years ago and try to think of it from the review side. Nah, it's fucking Ghostbusters. So what did you think about it?
So I went into it with not a lot of expectation because, we've already done this. We've tried to redo this movie with a female cast, and I did like that movie for what it was on its own, but not to be linked to the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah, don't be hating.
Yeah, because I enjoyed it, and plus our friend was in it, so. But this movie was linked to the original Ghostbusters. So I tried not to have really high expectations because I was afraid of being let down.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is nothing that compares to the original, obviously. But they did not disappoint. I really enjoyed this movie. I laughed throughout because Paul Rudd, as Mr. Gruberson, or aka Sexiest Man Alive, was funny as hell as usual. He was his, goofy, dorky self. McKenna Grace, she's adorable and she's such a good actress.
Yeah.
You may not recognize her when you see her in this. She's actually been in a lot of movies. She's normally blonde without glasses. So in this movie, she looks like a Ghostbuster, a particular Ghostbuster. But so she's been in things like Fuller House for any of my fellow Fuller House people. She was Jackson's love interest.
I left that show in the dust when it went off the air the first time.
But she's actually been in like a shit ton of movies too. And when I heard the name when they ran the credits, I was like, wait, McKenna Grace, where the hell was she in this movie? Yeah. So she looked completely different, but she was really good. I enjoy watching Finn Wolfhard too. He's also from Stranger Things.
Yes.
Yes.
And It.
And It, yes.
You know, the 6-foot Pennywise that's standing right in front of us?
No. That's Bill Skarsgård.
I know that, but he was in the movie It.
Yes, I know that.
Was in it.
I think he is talented.
Except for in The Turning.
Yeah.
Don't watch that.
But that wasn't his fault. I think he could have been good if the movie had been good. You can only do so much with what you're given. And I think he's a really talented kid. So yeah. But overall I really, really enjoyed this film.
Very, very good story. Not like the original, though it has some scenes that kind of have good callbacks to the original, and things that kind of happen in the first film happen in this one, almost like you see with The Last Jedi, but not, almost act for act, where we're going to copy it and just change some things up. So this movie, very good story, and how it evolves into ghosts essentially being unleashed again. So I thought that was excellent. Now there is, towards the end, like where everything's starting to build up to a climax, there is several plot holes in it that you kind of notice. Like, wait a minute, well, why are they doing this? And where are those people? And so those things kind of happen. Like I said, it's fucking Ghostbusters. Do you really care about that?
Yeah.
Now it's been one whole day since we've seen it, and the nostalgia hasn't worn off. Most people, I'm going to warn you now, you're probably going to need tissues when you go there, because everybody that I talk to has shed tears watching this movie. So you
I didn't
probably,
expect to cry when I went to see Ghostbusters, and just saying.
the ending is amazing.
I have chills right now thinking
Yeah.
about the ending. And also, should mention Phoebe's friend in the movie, played by Logan Kim. He calls himself Podcast.
Podcast was great.
That kid is fucking hilarious. Let me just tell you, I fell in love with that kid like the minute he opened his mouth. He's just got a presence about him. I hope we see more of him.
I doubt we're going to see more of him.
I don't think we will, but
because if we all remember Data from the Goonies,
yeah, I know.
You remember him? If I have to ask if you remember him, there's a problem. So
Well, I remember him.
this podcast kid is a lot like Data, not with gadgets and stuff like that. Let's have a modern day kid. And if they were to do Goonies, it would have been awesome to see that character as like Data's kid, only in like the podcast type role.
Yeah, definitely. Because that's essentially who he was. He was Data all over again. I do remember Data.
Very good delivery.
Yeah, he had an excellent delivery. I think he's super talented.
Yeah, Logan Kim.
Yeah, probably won't see him again, but I hope we do.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this is a weird one. So we grew up with the movie. So we have this long span in between films, and you have to wonder, for like younger generations didn't have this weight. So is the impact different for other people than where it would be for people of our generation, where it's like, hey, we were what, 7 at the time when it came out?
Yeah.
And now we're getting this film with all the great callbacks and the tributes to the first movie. I think they retconned the second one out of it, because they do talk about the events that happened in New York, and they only reference part 1 and the events that happened in part 1. So I think part 2 is officially tossed out of this franchise. It's this and then that one. But I would like to know, and I'm sure maybe you would like to know too, so if you're under the age 30, how did this movie affect you? Because you would obviously have been alive and, not seeing it with this great span here. So, is it going to have that same emotional impact as it will with all the people of our generation?
And also, did they even have the same reaction to the first one that we did? I mean, they would have been not in that generation even when, period, but definitely not when the movie came out. I mean, we're from that generation. So, that makes a difference sometimes too.
Yep. Not that many ghosts in the movie. You didn't really need that much, because the story was very good. It was driven by story. It was very funny, very entertaining, and you have to stick around. There are a mid-credit and after-credit scenes, so stick around for that.
Yeah, you're going to want to see them.
Not a spoiler, just want to put it out there.
Yeah.
If anybody is expecting Rick Moranis, unfortunately, he is not in the film again. So, he is sticking to his guns. He is retired.
I mean, I guess everyone has to at some point, right?
What did you rate it?
I am going to rate this an A+.
All right. The music was music from the first film,
Mm-hmm.
so all homage to the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to get an A+ because it's fucking Ghostbusters, and because we grew up with it when we were
Yeah.
7 years old, and at that time, what a lot of kids are going to miss out. You have the real Ghostbusters cartoon that came out, you had Ghostbusters cereal that came out. Everything was Ghostbusters when we were kids. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. I had a lunchbox for a short period. It got stolen by some punk kid.
mhm.
I was very upset. Anyway, as always, make sure that you like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, and share.
Yes. And until the next review, see
See
ya.
ya.